This is my discussion slash review for 911 Lone Star Season 4, Episode 17, titled Best of Men. And I'm going to be 100%. I get what they were doing. That don't mean I got to like it. Let's talk about it.
Live life for the fight, yeah, I'm here to get it. I got drive, got sight, always have a vision. I go by at night, I be in my feelings, I'm a big fight.
This episode, for me, it was good and bad at the same time, man. The beginning of the episode, we start this case off where this lady's at the gas station and this junkie, I want to say, came and robbed this lady at knife point, which is weird. But anyway, at knife point, and stole her car with her baby in the back of it. Now, we can tell that he was impaired because when they shot the scenes of him driving the car, you can see that his vision was a little bit blurry. But that's not even the crux of it, man. I mean, they let the dude steal the car, and then they have him steal the car and the baby's in the back, and then he runs the car into a pool trying to get away from the police and the firefighters, and the baby's the start of this freaking episode just came in all I know life is not growing up and wanting to be an adult and everything. You think life is going to be super easy. It's way more convenient because nobody can really tell you what to do. Things are going to be easier when you're an adult, and things get complicated and super hard when you're an adult. But I know life isn't rainbows and kittens and unicorns and pretty pink colors and bright colors and stuff. I know that, but this episode, it wasn't dark, but it was so real, but at the same time, it made me so upsetting at the same time. I mean, the whole conversation with Carlos and his dad wanting him to join the Texas Rangers, and Carlos just lays into him about the stuff and the history of the Texas Rangers. Very valid statement, but let's take that even a step further. Okay, Carlos, you got all this stuff going on and these emotions that you're feeling about your father being a Texas Ranger. Sure, you say that you're proud of him, and okay, let's say you are, but the way that you came across and the way that you said it to your father was very concerning and upsetting, and anybody would be hurt by that. And then, we see him later on apologize in the episode after talking to his mother, but he wants to lay out all this facts and stuff about the Texas Rangers. Sure, they got a sordid history, but it's no worse than the history of America. And I don't see you saying, well, I'm just going to leave America and go live somewhere else. You didn't say that. You know what I'm saying? Like, America's history sucks for certain people. So you can't sit there. You can't pick and choose when something is convenient for you to I don't want to say, what's the word, cancel or something, cancel culture or whatnot. You can't pick and choose when things are convenient for you to cancel. If you're going to break down the establishment of the Texas Rangers, you need to break down the establishment of the FBI, the CIA, the LAPD, NYPD, I'm assuming Austin PD. You can't just, or America in general, the government, law enforcement, in a whole. You can't just pick and choose when it's convenient for you to pick a side and be like, well, this is what they've done to our people. Anybody knows that, like the government and the cops aspect of the government, the federal part and the DEA and the CIA and all that stuff, cops in general, their whole shtick was to just browbeat on anybody other than white people. And I'm not trying to pick sides or anything. Like, that's just historical facts. But you can't pick and choose when to do that, Carlos, because at the end of the day, you are a cop as well. And cops, that's their whole thing. Now, there are a bunch of good cops, but there's a bunch of bad cops as well. So it's just a whole weird mix. And Carlos can't pick and choose. Well, the Texas Rangers done this and that and the other in the past. And sure, they still do a lot of it today, but Carlos's mom went into this whole, ordeal about, how his father changed, and there's like 30% of the Texas Rangers now with women and people of color. So you can't just sit there because he didn't even know that. He didn't know that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know that this episode was a great episode and that they were showing like how real it is. It's just, that's not even the only thing, man. The whole aspect with Judd and Wyatt. Like, I get it. I know Wyatt is Judd's son, and Judd feels a certain type of way because he was never really in Wyatt's life from the very beginning. But that's not on Judd. That's on Wyatt's mom. She never told Judd that he had a kid. She like I get it. Life itself in general is black and white. It's not black and white. It's gray. You know, you can look at it from the black side, you can look at it from the white side, but it all boils down to the middle, the alignment, the gray aspect of life. It's never just as simple as it seems. I get that. But like with Carlos, you know, Judd feels responsible for something that was out of his control. She never told him he had a kid. And I get him wanting to help Wyatt now, which sucks. Wyatt is in a very bad predicament. You know what I'm saying? He can move his hand barely, but that'll get better with time with him in the physical therapy. But he may or may not be able to walk again. Now, like Judd said, 99% is not 100. But that's slim pickings. But, you know, it's 99% is not 100. So it's not a given. But at the same time, losing Judd to the firehouse, losing Judd from the firehouse, it's gonna suck. Now, I don't know how this is gonna completely play out because we have one more episode, but you know, that's gonna be the wedding episode more than likely. And how it's gonna go into season 5. But I don't like losing Judd, man. I mean, I know things change and people grow, and the fun. It's a weird thing, you know, the fondness of him wanting to be there for Wyatt, take care of Wyatt, because Wyatt's going to need a lot of care. And, you know, we see Judd this episode mentioning taking their living room and their parlor, turning that whole aspect into a rehabilitation center for Wyatt. And I get him wanting to be there because he was never able to be there earlier in his life. But like I said, it wasn't his fault, and it sucks that we're going to lose Judd. And this episode has me feeling a certain type of way, man, because of the stuff that's going down in it. And that's not even the cake of this episode, man. We see, well, before I talk about that, we'll talk about that in a minute. We see Owen's brother and his family come to Texas, you know, him and his 2 daughters and his wife, and we see them having dinner with the Reyes's. Like, it was a nice aspect. We see Carlos's sisters, her kids, well, one of them kids anyway. It was nice. It was a whole family thing. Owen did this big, beautiful speech, and after that's all said and done, we go back to Carlos's mom and dad's house, see him trying on his tux because Carlos asked his dad to be his best man, and boom, bam, he gets shot. Like, what else could possibly go wrong with this freaking episode, man? Like, sure, 911 was a little rocky this season. We'll see how that plays out with the next season on ABC. Lone Star was our saving grace this season because, you know, Lone Star was hitting on all cylinders from the very beginning. But now at the end is when it starts to lose the freaking rails for me anyway, man. I love the fact that it's so surreal, is grounded in the realism aspect of, like, life is not black and white. It's gray. Like, life isn't always happy. Things go wrong in life. Your life plans could change. Things could just go wrong in general. I get that. But if I could just slap the writers a couple times, just light taps just to kind of make them realize, what the freak are y'all doing, man? It sucks. But then we see that Carlos's dad gets shot, man, and I just can't, man. Then we have this funeral. Like, you see him get shot, and sure, it was like right there towards the heart. So you know there was a possibility he wasn't going to make it. But then we have the funeral and everything else. I just can't wrap my mind around it, man. And now, to be fair, this would be a great opportunity to pull Carlos into the Texas Rangers. I know it kind of would be against his character since he just made this huge grand statement about him not wanting to join the Texas Rangers, but he could do it to honor his father's legacy. It's a whole ordeal. There's so many aspects in this episode that I love the series and I love this episode because it was a very good episode, but just so many aspects in it, it makes me feel a certain type of way. I know we can't have the super duper happy ending all the time. I mean, because that's life. Life isn't always super duper happy. Bad things happen in life, but don't mean I gotta like it. You know what I'm saying? It was a great episode, and I can't wait to see how it goes. I don't see them wrapping it up with Carlos's father just into next week's episode, because I feel like that is going to be the wedding episode. But it could be something that leads into season 5 and see how that plays out. Now that that happened to Carlos, and see what route he decides to take. Overall, man, I just can't. I loved it, but it's just something inside me, man. This is What Incredible. Don't forget to smash the like button so you can't smash any more. Comment down below, and I'll be sure to respond to each and every one of them and subscribe. Peace out.
Hey, yeah.